Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, December 10th. You are watching the beginning of our coverage of the procession and memorial service for Sergeant KAILA Sullivan, the officer who was killed in the line of duty last Tuesday during a traffic stop. Air 11 is with us. They are cutting in and out, but we will stay with them as long as we can. They have already left Jeter Funeral Home, which is in the Friendswood area. That is the hometown of Sergeant Sullivan. They will be taking a very quick 11-minute route slated for Broadway to Dixie Farm all the way to the Gulf Freeway, and they will arrive shortly after that at Grace Church, which is in Southeast Houston, and that is where a memorial service will be open to the public starting at 10 o'clock. You're looking live now at a ground shot of Grace Church and then a picture of Sergeant Sullivan in her uniform. During this procession, you'll see several officers, her colleagues, as well as, if you may not have known this, Officer Sullivan was part of a local motorcycle club, and she was honored last week by a lot of the other members in that club, and they will also be riding together to honor Sergeant Sullivan in this procession. You can see the hearse right now being escorted by other motorcycle officers headed to Grace Church. The picture that you're looking at right now are some of her friends laughing and smiling. This is part of that local motorcycle chapter. We also know that Sergeant Sullivan loved camping. She loved hiking. In fact, last week, her wife, Tracy, honored her on Facebook and spoke a little bit more about their private life so that you could really get a sense of who Sergeant Sullivan was as a person. And that's what really threw this story into the national spotlight. That Facebook post was shared thousands of times and liked thousands of times. And we just got a real sense of what a wonderful woman she was, survived by her wife, her teenage son, Caden, and her brother, who will be speaking today at the memorial service, as well as the Nassau Bay police chief. The mayor of Nassau Bay will also be in attendance this morning. Some of her co-workers sharing some pictures as well. This is the same church, Grace Church, where we honored the life of Sergeant Christopher Brewster, who was also killed less than a week before Sergeant Sullivan while serving an arrest warrant. The procession is taking a very short route to get to Grace Church. So once again, if you're just joining us on our digital platforms, they're already en route to the church. They're going from Broadway Street to Dixie Farm to the Gulf Freeway. It should be a very short 11-minute drive. And you can see the officers already lining up, ready to greet the motorcycle officers and receive the hearse. And once they do arrive on scene, a casket guard will take Sergeant Sullivan inside until that service starts at 10 a.m. If you're interested in attending, it is open to the public, and the service is set to begin at 10. Now, when we have processions like this, we're hoping to give you another shot of Air 11 shortly here. It has been cutting in and out for us. But once they do arrive at the church, the helicopters usually remain at a respectable distance to minimize the noise out of respect for this type of situation and this type of ceremony. Pastor Garrett Booth will be conducting the service at Grace Church. It's expected to last just over an hour. Also in attendance will be Jared Sullivan, KAILA Sullivan's brother, Chief Tim Cromie, the Nassau Bay Police Department, Mayor Mark Denman, the City of Nassau Bay. They will be performing the traditional 21 gun salute. We will also hear taps to honor Sergeant Sullivan. Sergeant Sullivan was just 43 years young when she passed away last Tuesday night. She served with the Nassau Bay Police Department for nearly 16 years. She was a huge part of the LGBTQ community. As we mentioned earlier last week, KAILA's wife, Tracy, wrote an emotional and touching post on Facebook. It went viral. It attracted national headlines. We've got to learn a little bit more about Sergeant Sullivan and who she really was as a person. Loved to ride motorcycles. She had a teenage son, Caden, who we will also see in attendance at this memorial service today. She loved to serve and protect. That's what her wife told us in that same Facebook post. All week, locals have been sharing their support for Sergeant Sullivan and placing flowers by the flagpole. We showed you that earlier this morning on H-Town Rush, right in front of the Nassau Bay City Hall. Just a beautiful memorial to honor her. Ed Gonzalez called her a hero this week. As we're looking live at this shot, as the hearse is just now a few minutes away. One of the interesting things you may not know about Sergeant Sullivan, she was part of the National Sisters Eternal Women's Motorcycle Club. And if we watch the whole procession, you may see some of the other members in this procession on motorcycles to honor her in that way. Show what she loved to do in her spare time. She was also nicknamed Lucky. Don't really know what that's about, but I'm sure maybe Tracy, her wife, who she's survived by, will speak about that a little bit later on Facebook as she chooses to open up on her own time. She also played the guitar. Her wife Tracy joked in the post that she did love to sing, but she always thought she had a bad voice, but sang anyway. But her wife said she did not have a bad voice. There was also a candlelight vigil that was held for Sergeant Sullivan last week. And again, today's service will be open to the public starting in about an hour and 15 minutes. The hearse now arriving at Grace Church in Southeast Houston. It's just off the Gulf Freeway. So as we're seeing this arrival, there's no longer an impact on traffic in that area. They just left Jeter Funeral Home in Friendswood. That is the hometown of Sergeant Sullivan. Now an overhead shot of Air 11 showing you the hearse arriving at Grace Church with flowers on top. You see the words Jeter on the side of that hearse. They have just left Jeter Funeral Home in Friendswood. When the hearse comes to a stop, a casket guard will take Sergeant Sullivan out and inside to await the service. Our live coverage of the procession and memorial service for Sergeant KAILA Sullivan. You just saw her casket being escorted into Grace Church, where the service is set to begin in just an hour. We will end our coverage here, and we will pick it back up to share the memorial service with you live at 10 a.m. In the meantime, keep it right here on our digital platforms and KHOU.com, also on our mobile app, and you can read more on the life and legacy of Sergeant KAILA Sullivan. Thanks for watching, everyone.